where horror lies.
Hey guys, Robin Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe. It is theme week. It is my week. It is Splat Pack. What is the Splat Pack? Anyone watching this have no idea what I'm talking about, other than maybe you know of the Green Inferno by Eli Roth. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you love it, maybe you hate it. But really, the Splat Pack, I'm sure Glenn at the beginning of this week will probably do a good job of introducing some of these themes, as well as Jason and the rest after me, perhaps. But real quick, man, before we even get into this, because this really is about theme, right? And it is about the Splat Pack. We're talking about a group of independent filmmakers post 2002 forward, really impacted, I think, a lot of impact or influence of the post 9/11, the ensuing wars of aggression. I would say retaliation. Maybe later you could use aggression in there, right? And I say that with a half smile. I volunteered, not for that, of course, for those wars, but 90 to 94 U.S. infantry, first act one of our being involved in the desert. My opinions and how I feel has really evolved and changed since then. But anyhow, the Splat Pack. What do we got in the Splat Pack, man? You've got again, these filmmakers, which include I just don't want to miss anyone that I might have written down here. Aja, Bossman, Adam Green, Marshall, Juan Rodriguez, Zombie, Eli Roth. I'm sure I'm missing a few in there. Guys like this, in the wake of 9/11, really got us away from the PG-13 films that existed just prior, and brought extreme horror and an independent, budgeted level, but extreme violence. But what really interesting is the MPA, more than not, was friendly to these guys. And to make, and I don't want to lose my screen. I don't know if I will lose my screen, but point, here it is. Eli Roth on both Hostel 2. I'm going to show you just a few examples of some of the films that came out in this wake. But The Devil's Rejects, can somebody tell me, how does that movie get a rated? How is it rated R? That's what I mean by MPA friendliness. And I don't know if it's the subject matter, it's how some of these guys presented the subject matter. But by and large, these guys did not have a lot of issues with the MPA. Obviously, you're always going to have some issues of some sort to work out. But I got a few, right? I just pulled off a few. We get started with, of course, Dog Soldiers, which I haven't seen in forever. Of course, Saw. These are the films we're talking about here. High Tension, Aja. Of course, the film that really introduced this term, torture porn, right? Of course, maybe the most incredible return to grindhouse cinema, The Devil's Rejects, with one of the greatest endings to any film ever in the history of. I mean, it is what it is. But the Splat Pack. So this is what we're talking about all week. And I picked the Green Inferno partly because this might be, and I don't really mean this in its absolute literal sense, but it might be the mother of all. Maybe not. Maybe I just say, just for fun, the mother of all the Splat Pack films. In the sense, really in the sense of what was it attempting to do? Well, Eli, whose directorial debut, of course, Cabin Fever, who I think his greatest contribution to film. If I had to pick three movies, I would say probably Hostel 2, Part 2, simply because of the absolute love to early Italian cinema that it was paying, especially Outland in the opening train sequence. But all throughout, Ruggero Deodato, of course, having a cameo in that, great, man, more than a cameo. Hostel Part 2, we'll go with the one I'm going to talk about here in a second, the Green Inferno, because again, it's paying tribute to Ruggero Deodato and to the early Italian cannibal flicks, and the granddaddy of them all, Cannibal Holocaust, right? And if I had to pick a third, I would say Thanksgiving, only really because it serves to finally answer the question: are we going to have? Is Thanksgiving going to finally have its slasher? And it does. Compliments of a veteran of the Splat pack. Whatever you may think of Thanksgiving, in terms of maybe it not being hardcore enough for you, maybe it just wasn't that great. Every film has issues, but here's what we can't argue about. We finally have a slasher for Thanksgiving, so have fun putting that one on every Thanksgiving. So, you go from Halloween to Thanksgiving now. Company got John Carpenter, Eli Roth, and a Bob Clark Black Christmas. There you go, man. That 3 holiday is finally covered, man. So let's talk about this real quick. The Green Inferno, because this really is themed towards these guys. And the moments they will have in the opening 10-year salvo of the wake that is 9/11 and everything happening in the world. This is maybe this could be, is this not the closest maybe we've come to, when you go back in the 70s, and you just think about these directors that were so filled with so much anger at the world, and it came through in like Texas Chainsaw or Last House on the Left, these really, really, really hardcore films that still do, they stand the test of time, I guess, is that phrase I was looking for. And the Green Inferno, I do include it in the 3, mostly because, well, let's just talk about this, man. All right, I just don't want to lose. I hate it when the menu screens disappear. Okay, I know Scream Factory put out the Green Inferno, and I would say, if you have not picked this up yet, and you just want this in its best release, I would imagine, I haven't seen it, I don't own it, but I'm just going to go off on a limb. Considering what I don't have in this release, all I do have is a commentary, which I think is the cast and direct. I really don't like. I would rather have a director just talk by himself, and I would love it if Eli Roth was just by himself on this. But nothing else, and which is amazing considering K&B did the effects, and there is a lot to talk about in terms of the effects. So the Scream Factory, I'm sure there's going to be a plethora of extras and in K&B work, and I'm sure commentaries and whatever. I mean, so the Scream Factory is the way to go on this. So why Green Inferno? Well, I revisited this the other night, Friday night actually. Last night was Dune, which I just got on Blu-ray, but I remember, and I probably, different reasons, but I had similar, I remember the first time I saw Green Inferno, let's just say I wasn't the most impressed in the world. Impressed. And I think the problem is because I tried too hard to compare it to this. A Green Inferno, Cannibal Holocaust, it is not. I was listening to a podcast on Green Inferno, and one of the guys there used the word in talking about this one, that it just sucks. There was a little bit more to that than just that, but that really got me, man, because you can say a lot of things about this film. What you can't say is it sucks. Because what Ruggero got right on this, unfortunately, Eli falls short of the mark. Eli does a lot well, and more than I gave him credit for initially on this. When I first watched it, like I said, I think I compared it way too close. I wanted something close to Cannibal Holocaust. I mean, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. But I was reading a review, I think it was Brett Gallman, who, a lot of reviews on IMDb. And so I give him credit for saying this. But one of the things I really agree with him on, whenever you think about the film in terms of just critiquing it, where it may fall short for you, if this is something that you really wanted to get into, but it just doesn't meet them. It just doesn't meet that mark. I do agree with him on this. It is a minor, if not major, miracle that we even got this. This is an homage, a nod. This is a love letter to Ruggero Deodato and the early Italian cannibal films. And it does come with its own mildly form of angst that helps drive it. That is how he feels about social justice warriors and and the activism that just seems to be really hollowed out and more worried about likes, not just likes, but views, the vids and the what they do, the protests and everything they do. Apparently, Eli is really bothered by some of this. Unfortunately, as Ruggero was bothered by journalism run amok, this is a shot across the bow. This is aimed right at them. This really misses the mark in terms of his angst, in terms of what he was, and I say, I don't know if it entirely misses the mark. It hits it somewhere, but not bullseye. It's somewhere on there, on the target. But the problem with this is you got, and this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy review, so my apologies, but not really. Just to make it a little quicker on myself, you got a few components, pieces to the machine here. That is the script, right? You've got a logging company, okay, and its rival or rivals, as I'm sure there are. You've got an activist group known as ACT on campus. Can't remember where this actually. Is this near New York? Maybe. Anyways, and then you've got the Cannibal Tribe. Okay, so really, in effect, three main pieces to this puzzle. What made Ruggero's film so great is his angst was extremely narrowly defined and laid out pointedly. The journalists, the film, the documentary crew that goes in there, they are the antagonist by far. They go in and turn these tribes upside down. And what they get back somehow manages to outdo what they initially brought. There's no question who the antagonists are and who are the protagonists, even if you don't completely agree with the natives and what the natives are willing to do. You can, to a level, definitely sympathize, if not maybe to a point empathize with the decisions. Now we're talking, of course, fictionally, right, from a movie's point of view, but it's driven by real life issues. And while the Green Inferno is driven by real life issues, it becomes a bit of quagmire. There's no real. There's one character that stands out, Alejandro, who is the leader of the group ACT, who Justine, our main girl here, falls into. She's a college student, and her dad works for the UN. He's a lawyer for the UN. And we first meet Justine in class. I can't remember what class. It probably some sort of anthropology class or something. Anyways, they're talking about genital mutilation, and this really hits home with her. This is where she really, her ire gets up, and so there's some point to be made of that in terms of her character. But ultimately, she sees Alejandro and this opportunity to go into the Peruvian jungle and attemptively become a stumbling block to this logging company in order to save a tribe that apparently they're moving right at, is an opportunity for her to at least do something. And even though her best friend, warns her and does everything she can to advise her not to go. The one thing she should have done is probably listen to her friend, because this does not work out well for her, although it could have worked out worse. She will be our surviving girl. And so you kind of get these three pieces, right? And so, she sees an opportunity. She tries to join this group. And initially, Alejandro is, butt rebuffs her. But when Jonah, another character, realize that her dad works for the UN, they see it as an opportunity. And so basically, I'm just going to pick it up real quick. So it all gets settled. She decides to go with them. They go down there. The main set piece in terms of their protest against this logging company is nothing but a photo shoot for Alejandro. He is an antagonist in that sense, right? But the problem is, you're introduced to concepts like genital mutilation, and then when you're introduced to this cannibal tribe, you see things and you begin to understand things that they perhaps they're not really perhaps being driven necessarily by the logging crews and the destruction, which, I mean, you could see by the color of the water of their river that should be pristine or cleaner, and you see the destruction of the wilderness, but you just get this sense that they've always been cannibal tribe and are always at war with their neighboring tribes. And so in a sense, they you don't empathize with them or sympathize with them like you do with the tribes that you meet in Cannibal Holocaust. The logging crew, albeit they're doing something extremely destructive, it's never really painted in a way that puts them out of the forefront, which could easily been done. Even Alejandro, who really is left to be the antagonist, probably, if there is one, is more insane than he is a bad guy. And I mean, there's certain things that happen in this movie that really just have a hard time finding their place in this film. Certain decisions certain characters make. And I don't mean necessarily intricate to the plot. I mean just as a reaction to what they're being flung into. And let me just, describe it. When this photo shoot that just goes horrible for Justine more than anyone, because she's sort of set up by Alejandro, his girlfriend. They're sort of just set up. She's set up in order to manipulate and use her father. And so, you got that. And then once that's done, though, and really in the end, it's only to basically become a stumbling block so that another rival company can come in and pick up where they left off. I think it has something to do with Alejandro's father. So he was just using it as a photo shoot to increase the likelihood that people would join their effort, their cause, but really as a favor to his dad, I think. And so he really does use people and manipulate people. So, okay, so this whole thing with, chaining themselves up to trees and using their phones is the only weapon they have in terms of a live stream, in hopes that the militia that guards the logging company from the warring cannibal tribes or whoever may be out there, hopes that they just won't shoot them, which probably in real life would have happened. Ultimately, in the end, they are arrested. But then they're going to be deported quickly, so they're taken back to the river and put on a plane. But for them, it's a success. Their views are skyrocketing, and everything is a success. But wouldn't you know it, the plane probably is sabotaged by the logging company that realizes that Carlos, who is the guy who sets all this up for Alejandro, it's probably his rival company that is. That they're at odds with, so perhaps they sabotage a plane. Either way, the engines go, the plane goes down, and our group of characters are now plunged into the green inferno, into the hands of the cannibal tribe. And there's some standout things, man. And I hate it. I'm already going this far, man. I really hope y'all listen, but. Let me just say this. In terms, some of the effects under K&B work really, really great. But what made this movie is this impaling scene, and what really almost got Ruggiero into some serious legal trouble. There's a scene in Green Inferno that could have been Eli's impaling scene, and it ultimately, it just totally fails. And it's, I think I want to say is it Daniel? Yeah, Daniel. Oh, what could have been? You got Canby doing this movie for you. You got a scene where Daniel helps Justine try to escape. They're trying to find the GPS locator, which is at the plane crash site, right? And he has seen, and it's not really explained well, which is fine. You can pick up on it, but the tribe really looks at Daniel as sort of, you just try to help the girl that they have already decided she's one of us. She's going to be one of us. Once there's genital mutilation, which is maybe the mother of all ironies in this movie, in terms of her and her cause, what she wishes it to be. You got Daniel up on a stake, and as for punishment, they spread all this green stuff on him, and what it does is it attracts the ants. And so what could have been one of the epic moments of the Splat Pack era, the scene that would have been like the impaling scene in the original Cannibal Holocaust, just as effective, just as nutty, is reduced to CGI ants. And when you finally move away from that, and when you come back, you don't even have an effect that could have lent itself to, my God, this is why you don't go into the jungle, because even the ants will rip you to pieces. There's none of that. He's got a swollen eye and everything, and yeah, he's acting like he just wants to die. Kill me, please. By then, Justine, who has developed, don't spin this or take it the wrong way, but a relationship with a younger boy in the tribe, who is attracted to her in the sense of her flute playing, which plays a pivotal role in the movie. He ultimately, in the end, decides that her life shouldn't be wrecked to become part of their tribe. He's going to let her go. By then, you get the logging company, the other one that's supposed to be coming in to pick things up. They're coming towards the tribe. The tribe will go out to meet them, which ends up becoming quite a scene in itself. At that point, it gives Justine an opportunity to not only leave, who is the only other survivor is Alejandro. She has a chance to save him. She leaves him in the cage, which is freaking awesome. Great moment. But then the film ultimately is undone by its ending with Justine, who ultimately, when she's finally saved back home, has a chance to really lay out the truth of everything that happened. Doesn't. She lies. She lies about everything. She lies about the tribe. She lies about everything. And you don't know really why, other than, if I had to take a guess, it was to cover her own tracks for the decision she made to leave Alejandro behind. I'm just going to say it that. So when you're faced with a film like this, and the writing is such, and maybe this is exactly what Eli wanted, but it's not near as effective as Cannibal Holocaust is, because things are so narrowly written in such a way you can't miss it. And it's you could have done that so many different ways. You could have had a major set piece in the beginning of the movie that would have set things into motion, where you could have seen a logging company actually wipe out a village. Now I know money. There's a lot that goes into that. I get it. But man, it could have really put the onus on the logging company. And when these poor kids go in there for their shoot, if anything, when their plane crashes in the middle and the cannibals get their hands on them, perhaps they see something or things that connect these kids with the logging company, and so the cannibals take their angst out on these kids, thinking they're no different than the logging company, not understanding why they're even there to begin with. Do you see what I'm saying? There was ways to have done this, and you're gonna have K&B on set. You gotta let them just go. And I get it. At the end of the day, the money is the issue. It's a lower budgeted film. But like Brett Gallman said, what we need to be, I think, in the end, is absolutely astonished that Eli Roth, one of the members of the Splat Pack, did the absolute unthinkable. He was able to do a love letter to perhaps the greatest cannibal flick in the history of cannibal flicks. He was able to do it. Now, 2013, I want to say it was 2013, but it's not released widely until 2015. But it does get into the theater. A cannibal flick got into the theater, and that alone is worth celebrating, right? And so that's great. And I could make some interesting critiques or pick it apart a little bit, but there's only things that seem obvious to me when you watch this movie. I will say this, and I'll kind of wrap up my thoughts here. I will say this: unlike the first time I watched it, I really was stunned with the level of intensity that this film does bring at moments, and the level of dread and suspense. It's undone by some really stupid things. The whole marijuana thing, I get what they were trying to get. It doesn't really, I don't know. It doesn't work the way it could work. The CGI ants, the diarrhea, the infamous diarrhea scene. It's just some of these things I think work more against the film than they do to help the film. But I was stunned by the level of dread, and even before the infamous photo shoot and the protest against the logging company, when they first beachhead, there is a sense of dread already. And that was the other aspect of this film, I wish, where Rugero's film, of course, is notorious for the animal killings. I wish they would have had a scene, well, like the ants. The ants could have been a perfect moment where the environment, the jungle itself, is able to absolutely just destroy a human being. And that is a message that, there are some places in this world we probably should not go to, especially for reasons like that, right? And so I just think that I think it's a film that we need to be astonished that it's actually made and actually got into the theaters, and it's a great homage to Italian cinema. It's not without its issues. It's not without some of its problems. And had those problems not existed, we may be talking about a film that may never see anything like it ever again. And maybe we don't. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the last time we ever see anything like that, with Universal, and all that wonderful stuff. And I'm at 27 now, and I do apologize. BodyBags should not be this long. And so if you take the time to watch this and listen to me, I so appreciate it. It's nearly a half an hour. It is what it is. But definitely, if you've never seen it, check it out. And as well as some of the other suggestions that come your way throughout the week, compliments of the Splat Pack. And as always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to you.